Hello, hello. Troisième épisode sur The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. On a bien rigolé. Enfin, on rigole bien jusqu'à maintenant. Tac, tac, tac. Alors attendez, j'ai encore un souci avec Twitch. C'est l'enfer. Mon retour est down, dead. C'est bon. On va y arriver. Dernier épisode, j'ai retapé l'heure. C'est bizarre, il me redemande l'heure. On va le remettre. Tac, il est 9h30. Tac. Et j'ai démarré l'épisode juste après parce que il y avait un message attendez, attendez. Donc on va reconfirmer, on va voir ce qui se passe. Ah, 9h30, votre heure préférée de la journée. Oui, c'est vrai, il m'avait dit mettez l'heure que vous voulez. Mettez votre heure préférée. Ou bien n'avez pas résisté à la tentation de m'indiquer la bonne heure. Après tout, je sais combien vous appréciez de me donner l'heure exacte. Et voilà, je suis maintenant curieux de savoir si 9h30 est la bonne heure ou pas. Voyons cela avec un autre curseur. Quel est le degré d'exactitude? Ah, allez, presque. Presque, c'est pas tout à fait ça. Vous savez, je voulais juste vous dire que cette heure soit exacte ou non. Je passe un excellent moment à régler ces paramètres. J'ai l'impression d'en apprendre plus sur vous et vos préférences. Il est bon de collecter des données. J'aurais aimé qu'on ait plus de curseurs, mais nous les avons tous utilisés. Je pourrais inventer de nouveaux curseurs pour recueillir des données à votre sujet. Ça n'a rien de compliqué, oui. Je vais en fabriquer de nouveaux. Ça devrait être prêt la prochaine fois que vous démarrerez le jeu. C'est une bonne mécanique pour ramener les joueurs. Ah, yeah. Et oui, maintenant on a le nouveau menu, on est dans Stanley Parable 2, pour l'instant. Vu que le nom du jeu change beaucoup. Alors, je vois pas trop les embranchements qui pourraient varier. J'ai bien envie de tester une run où on fait ce qu'il dit. Et il faudra tester de faire 2 fois d'affilée ce qu'il dit, mais avec le saut. Donc là, on prend pas le saut, on va essayer de le faire une fois et c'est tout.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Allez, la porte de gauche. Oh! Ça a changé. Ah mais il y a tout qui a changé. Oh! Fireplace. C'est avec le bébé? Large room. Lot of boxes. Ah, escalier, ok. Ok. Excellent. L'instant de complétion. Le placard.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track. There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow, just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be here.
Le placard, j'ai beaucoup rigolé la première fois.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Yes.
Another miniature Stanley figurine. This, there really must be a snappier name for these things. What about mini stands?
Oula, pardon. Reco. Ah, c'est vrai que j'ai pas...
Yes, I think I like that.
J'ai mon portable qui charge, du coup je n'avais pas le chat sous les yeux. Il est toujours pas plein. Oh. Alors, on essaie de voir des variantes, des zones cachées. Yes.
Okay, I'm going back to the name of these little Stanley figurines, and now I'm torn between Stanlerines and Figlies. What do you think, Stanley? What name better encapsulates the intrinsic sense of happiness that you get from seeing a small number in the corner of your screen go up by 1? Let me sit on it. I'm sure it will come to me.
Ok. C'est cet ascenseur là aussi. Ah non, bah c'est verrouillé. Bon, bah tant pis.
Stepping into his
On va
manager's
faire ce qu'il
office,
dit.
Stanley was
On fait
once
ce qu'il
again
dit, on fait ce qu'il dit.
stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been
2840 et
keeping
quelque
from
chose, non?
him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845.
1845.
But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing.
Waouh.
He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Ah ah. Ouh. Ouh.
You're getting close now, Stanley. You've nearly gotten all
Putain,
the
plus qu'une.
Figler Anmarines. Very
Fireplace,
soon, you'll collect the last one.
fireplace,
And then the
fireplace.
first
En gros,
number
il y a
will
du feu.
equal the
Et
second
là, le
number,
seul.
and that will be it. We'll be different people by then. Different in the sense that we used to have none of them. And now
Ah, tu paries qu'ils
we
en ont
have
mis
them
7.
all. You can't
Pour
go
pas que ça
back
soit
to when
6
you
sur
had
6.
no Figler Anmarines. None of us can.
Un endroit où il y a du feu, il y a que la zone où il y a le bébé.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long. Stanley walked straight ahead
Ouais,
through the
il
large
faut
door
aller
of
tout
the
droit.
red mind control facility.
Je sais pas si on est déjà rentré là. Si, oui, on était déjà rentré. Attends, Non, je suis pas déjà venu. Je suis déjà venu? Non.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with
Ça me parle,
television
si.
screens. What horrible secret did this place hold?
Je sais plus.
Stanley thought to himself.
Tellement
Did he
d'embranchements
have the
que...
strength to find out?
Cette salle, ça me parle.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a
C'est un
screen.
peu Matrix.
And Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the
Là, on
proof,
revient dans la
the heart
salle,
of the
ok.
operation. Controls labeled with
Alors,
emotions.
j'ai pas du tout su
or
ce qu'il fallait
sad,
faire la première
or
fois. Hein.
content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Ah ouais, on avait fait on. Ok.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin,
Je suis
the
libre.
feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
On peut finir le jeu en 4 minutes. Terminer le jeu, 90 G. Succès. Excellent. Et on revient là. Attends, je regarde vite fait les succès. Tu, 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 tu. « 4 minutes et 22 secondes. On le tente. On le tente, on le tente. Allez, go.
All of his co-workers were gone.
Donc là, il faut
What
faire
could it
exactement
mean?
tout ce qu'il dit.
Stanley
Il y a les
decided
temps
to
de
go to the
chargement qui
meeting
sont pas
room.
comptabilisés.
Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley
faut aller
came to
sur
a
la
set of two
porte.
open doors, he entered the door on his left.
L'escalier, faut aller en haut. Ah ouais, là, tout ça s'est raturé, c'est cool.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
On va là-bas. 2845, je crois
Stepping
que c'est
into
le
his
code.
manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human
2845.
life. Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he
Et c'est
didn't
pressé
even
de
have a
faire
single
qui fait
minute to just
le
let
narrateur
the
pour parler.
narrator talk.
Ah, même ça change.
That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he
Il me
relaxed
fait perdre
for
du
a few
temps.
moments with some calming new age music.
Oh non. Ah non. Il fait perdre du temps exprès. Oh putain.
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
C'est excellent. Ok. Ah, du coup, je sais pas si je vais l'avoir. Celui-là, il m'a... Je sais pas compter, mais... Il m'a fait perdre du temps.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Mind control. On appuie, on push le bouton.
The lights rose
Push,
on
push,
an
push.
enormous room packed with
Go, go,
television
go.
screens.
Go, go,
What
go, go.
horrible secret did this place
Let's go.
hold? Stanley thought to himself.
Let's go.
Did he
On n'a pas
have
le
the
temps.
strength to find out?
Vite, 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 vite.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this...
Ok. Si on le rate, c'est de pas beaucoup, je pense.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin.
Alors,
the
succès,
feeling
pas
of
succès.
liberation, the immense
Ça va être chaud.
possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Was happy. Ah, les boules. Y a pas de succès. Non. Je pense que c'est quand il m'a fait perdre du temps. Je suis deg. Je
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
On
Stanley
va faire
decided to go to the meeting room.
pareil
Perhaps
avec le
Stanley
seau.
lifted the bucket into his arms, and a wave of comfort rushed over him. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Nearby a fireplace. Proche de... What? Ah, du coup, il faut trouver une grande pièce avec plein de boîtes. Grande pièce avec plein de boîtes.
Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy. It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket. I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies. Good for you, Stanley. Don't give in. Don't hand over the bucket. I know how hard it must be, given the pressure that the broom closet is putting on your shoulders right now, but you have to be strong. This is your bucket. This is your companion and lifelong friend. You can't hand it over. Oh, no. We're getting into name-calling now, it seems. Is this how low the broom closet has sunk, that it has to resort to this stream of petty insults simply in order to get you to hand over the bucket? Stanley, I never liked this broom closet for a variety of reasons, but even this is worse than I had imagined. And wait, now the broom closet has the gall to imply that you and the bucket are not truly deep and lasting friends? That your relationship is purely superficial,
C'est monologue qui nous
that your
sort.
life is so banal and meaningless that you'd feel the same sort of kinship towards any inanimate object which happened to lay in your path in an even partially enticing manner? Well, I'd never. Go on, Stanley. Lay into it. Really tell the broom closet off for its demeaning comments. Expand on the wide variety of experiences you and the bucket have shared together. Go through each of them point by point. Share your journal entries detailing the rich emotional landscape of your feelings for the bucket as they have changed and evolved over the years. Let him have it. Okay, I've got you something which I think will help settle this debate once and for all. Here we go. There.
Oh.
Now it's settled. No more debate, no more discussion. Take a hike, broom closet, with all your meandering philosophical diatribes about the nature of cleaning supplies and their relationship to broom closets in the natural order of things. All right, I've got a second sticker back here, and I'm going to slap it on as well because I think it's appropriate. You see,
Oh yes.
I feel
Ça c'est que
that
des
it
easter eggs.
works
Ce
because
jeu
the
est un
sticker
easter
is
egg.
also a bucket. That way, if you're ever unsure whether the thing you're holding is a bucket or not, you can look down at this sticker and say to yourself, ah, it's a bucket. There really is a wide variety of applications for this sticker.
Un troisième.
You know what? I could take the name-calling and the dismissal of your kinship with the bucket, but now the broom closet is just giving us a silent treatment. And to be honest, I'm sick of the pettiness on display. You can stay here all you like, but I've had it with this impetulant room of cleaning supplies. Easily the most childish such room I've ever been in. I'll see you outside, and we can get on with the story about you and your bucket.
Le placard, c'est la pièce centrale du jeu. Ok, je pense qu'on est bon.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Là, c'est... On va essayer de finir le jeu avec le
Stepping into his manager's
saut.
office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him always. The bucket would, and he knew it. The two of them were inseparable. At this point, Stanley was so absorbed in the tender spiritual connection he shared with the bucket that he didn't notice the keypad behind the boss's desk. Nor in his bliss of simply being near the bucket did he have any notion that the PIN number for the keypad was 2845. Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845.
Je testais à l'envers ou quoi.
But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Ok.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine. Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves. The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley
J'ai l'impression qu'en fait ça
in
change.
shock. Everyone in the
Ah,
office was
ouais.
being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears.
Ils ont refait
as
des
Stanley
dialogues à
held his
chaque
bucket,
étape.
reassuring it that everything would be fine. Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raised furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control. Never! He squeezed the
Never,
bucket
ever.
tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket.
Est-ce qu'il y a un endroit où on a... J'ai pas l'impression. Un pourcentage de toutes les répliques ou les lieux
But here was the proof.
du jeu.
The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored
Ah, le
and
bouton rouge.
commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two
Il y
best
a,
friends,
il y a
Stanley and the
clairement un truc à
bucket,
faire
up
avec
against the
les
world.
boutons.
They high-fived in a really cool way, and the bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system. Stanley and the bucket waited in blackness. Was it over? Yes, they had done it. Stanley and the bucket had defeated their greatest and darkest enemy, freed themselves from the tyrannical grip of the evil mind control machine. Freedom was now mere moments away. Excitedly, the two of them began to discuss the kind of life they wanted to live once they stepped through this massive door. The bucket wanted to learn to roller skate. Stanley wanted to sneeze in every country on Earth. Both of them wanted to begin watching a movie, any movie, but then stop it halfway through and begin watching it in reverse from the end. True, it was a simple life they envisioned, but it was one they'd live together, with one another to lean on, to trust, to support.
Ah,
What? Wait. What
c'est
was
bloqué.
happening? Why had the door stopped? Was Stanley and the bucket not about to be freed? An unbearable silence filled the room, lingering in uncertainty, until finally the truth hit Stanley square in the face. This building did not want the bucket to leave. Even the
Ah oui.
facility itself recognized the incredible calming presence of the bucket, needed the soothing warmth of the bucket, would go to any lengths not to part with the bucket. No. Stanley can't leave this place. Not while he has such a precious bucket in his arms. Not while this building has anything to say about it. Stanley realized he would never again leave this very room. But at least he has the bucket. To be trapped eternally in darkness isn't really so bad, Stanley thought to himself. As long as I have my bucket with me, right? I'll be okay, won't I? Stanley gulped. Very soon now, he was about to find out.
Est-ce que c'est fini ou est-ce qu'il y a encore quelque chose? C'est fini. Il y a des fins, c'est un peu frustrant.
A soft wind blew outside and perhaps rain started, and if it did, it stopped shortly after. Stanley hoped that he would one day see weather.
Ah, c'est pas le même texte. Bon, il y a les autocollants.
The confusion and the chaos all seemed to melt away as Stanley embraced the bucket. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place
Une
to
grande
be.
salle avec plein de cartons.
And
Je
here
pense
it
à la
was. Had
statuette.
the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought to himself. Yes, perhaps it truly was. How insightful the bucket turned out to be. No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
Oh, il y a un passage là. Oh, excellent. Ah. Oh. Putain, il y avait le chemin de l'autre côté. Oh. Bon, on a trouvé encore un truc. Les cassettes. Une salle avec plein de cartons. C'est ici qu'il devrait y avoir ma statuette.
Okay, this is day number 295. Tape number... I don't even know. I've lost track. Nothing feels real anymore. The longer I study this bucket, the less sense anything makes. Sheer euphoria I feel every time I pick it up. No matter how many times I've done it, it's always the same feeling. And the emptiness in my chest when I set it down, it doesn't make sense. There's no explanation for it. I still haven't figured out why I see the world so differently when this bucket is in my arms. Why everything feels so... What do I do with this treasure? I can monetize it. Yes. It's unthinkable the amounts of money people will pay for even just an hour with the bucket. This is my golden ticket.
Ça n'est pas bol
But I
de
have to be careful.
un
Because
saut.
as soon as this
Il
gets
prend un
out,
saut.
there's going to be a target on my back. Even now, I don't know who might be trying to get... What's that? Who's there?
Gambarata. Fuck. Ça devient un film d'horreur. Enfin, un jeu d'horreur. Quoi? What the fuck? Alors attendez, juste 2 secondes. Euh... du coup ça. Ok.
A soft wind blew outside and perhaps rain started, and if it did, it stopped shortly after. Stanley hoped that he would one day see weather.
Warmth spread through Stanley's arms. With the bucket in his arms again, he was home.
Faut reprendre le passage, mais pas tomber dans
This was not the
l'aération.
to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No, said the bucket. Don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
Ah oui, la statue. Elle est là. Oui. La dernière statue.
And there it is. The last Stiggly Wiggly. Savor this moment, Stanley. This is a real accomplishment. This is doing something just for the sake of doing it. Where so many people expect to be rewarded for the most trivial achievements, you've insisted that a job well done is its own reward. I would tell you that I'm proud of you for collecting them all, but that would be like a reward, and we can't have that. So, instead I'll just say, it's done. We're all done here. And now we can go to whatever the hell you were doing before you hunted for figurines.
Ok. Ok. Oula, bah je suis tombé. Oh.
But Stanley feared
mince.
that any path he walked might lead to the separation of himself and the bucket, his dearest friend. So he threw himself to his death, that they might die in one another's arms. How deeply touching.
Faudrait essayer là, la fin où on se fait écraser avec le saut. Peut-être que le saut empêche le fait de se faire écraser. Ah, et là le narrateur il dit rien. Bizarre.
Stanley,
Oh,
I'm sorry, but I have to put a pause on things. It's those figurines. Those
ah les figurines.
figures. I haven't stopped thinking about them since you nabbed every last one. Wasn't it just the most intrinsically fulfilling moment of your entire life? Didn't it fill you to the brim with inner richness? Yes, I know we're supposed to be telling a story, but won't you please indulge me with one more trip back to the memory zone? I would love nothing more than to revisit the figurines. Just one more time.
Il faut ressortir. Ah ouais, ok. Ça descendait pas en sous-sol comme ça, là, avant. Et là, c'est fermé. Bon, très bien. Oula.
Here's where it all began. The first collectible. Back then, we had no idea of how many of them we'd find. Sure, it said 6 right there on the screen, but how could we know for certain? We were so innocent. We'll never be like that again, Stanley.
Tu sais jamais si tu vas... si t'avances vraiment ou pas. J'avais été sûr qu'on allait dépasser 6. C'était sûr.
And here was a second Stanlerine. You found this one all on your own, just by poking around by the red and blue doors. You did that, Stanley. I'll be honest. Back then, I had no
C'est la
faith
reine
in you to
statue.
find any of them, let alone 6. But you continue to surprise me in all sorts of mundane, unremarkable ways.
8 sur 6. Yes.
Okay, let's do a little quiz. Which of these rooms was the room you found your third mini stand? Can you remember?
La troisième, j'ai eu celle de l'escalier avant celle de la salle de bain. Donc je pense que la troisième c'était sous l'escalier.
Hey, that's exactly right. It was here, under the stairs. It was the third one. You picked it up, and then after that, you had 3 of them. I'm glad these moments are so crystal clear in your memory, but I shouldn't be surprised. After all, science tells us that it's impossible to forget your third time doing anything.
Doublement barricadé. La
Let's
quatrième
see,
c'était
what
celle
came
dans les
next?
toilettes, je crois.
Oh,
Oh.
yes, we found a figly in this pink room. Oh, well, I can't actually say I remember being in this room, but it's here in the memory zone, so it must have happened.
Ok. Attends, on est passé de... Ah, t'es pas à 9? 6, 7, 8, 9... Ah si, peut-être.
This was the 5th mini stand, and this one was really something special. It was behind the boss's office. I remember it so clearly. In fact, because this one is particularly special to me, I made a little video to commemorate the occasion. Enjoy.
Ton vieux PowerPoint. Waouh, c'était ici. Ouais. The narrator, the narrator, the narrator.
Takes you back, doesn't it? I spent a lot of time making that video, but it was 8 minutes I wouldn't have spent on anything else.
Ouais. Et de 11. Ouais, non, si, c'est bon.
And then, Stanley, then we came to the last collectible, the final figurine, right here in the warehouse. This memory is the most distinct and clear in my mind, perhaps because it was the one that happened more recently than all the others. Who can truly say how the mind works? All I know is that this is the moment where you picked up a Figly and I thought to myself, yes, that's all of them. They're all collected. It was a moment unlike any other. Except for the other moments picking up figurines, which it was exactly like.
Ok. Et on a doublé. Vous êtes dans le présent.
And then there was no more. Because we've caught up to the present moment. Nothing left to do but move onward into the future. Goodbye, memory zone.
Ils vont me ramener au début? Ah.
No, I'm not done.
Hmm.
I'm not ready to move on.
Incroyable.
Stop the loading screen. Isn't there some way we can stay here, keep enjoying these figurines? Let's just go backwards. We'll do the memory zone again from the opposite direction. See how that feels.
Bon, il faut que je refasse ça à l'envers. C'est complètement barré.
Okay, yes. This spot in the
Il y en a
warehouse.
encore à
I
ramasser?
remember this. I must say, of all the figurines we looked at in our initial tour of the memory zone, this one is the most distinct and clear in my mind. Let's keep going. I want more.
13. On va monter jusqu'à combien? Il n'y en avait que 6 à ramasser à la base. Mais non. Attends, il va nous faire
And
des
here's
allers-retours,
where I
je suis
made
sûr.
that video. Don't you remember the video we watched?
Oh non, 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 non. Ah oui, ok, c'est en accéléré.
Yes, I love that video.
Oh punaise. Aïe aïe aïe. À un moment, ils vont nous mettre une salle, il y a plein de figurines.
Still don't remember the pink room, Stanley. Still no memory of this one.
Il va me la
Good
remettre.
room, though. A solid room.
Sur
These really were
l'escalier.
a treat to hunt down. You know, if there had been any kind of reward for finding all of these, it really would have muted the intrinsic joy of collecting them. I'm very glad we resisted the temptation. Next one.
Et du coup, si je les avais collectés dans un ordre différent, ça serait apparu différemment? Quoi là-bas? C'est fermé. Merde.
This was our second Figly. Don't you remember? Yes, I remember it too. The past is truly a wonderful thing. Why does anyone ever choose to leave it? Keep going.
fait, ils veulent nous faire regretter d'avoir tout collecté. On va faire des allers-retours, je sens.
This is it, the very first one we found in the exhibit where I introduced you to the figurines. Oh, I want more memories, Stanley. I want to keep going. What else is there? What came before this?
Et ensuite... On est de retour ici, ok.
Look, it's the terrible new content that we were originally sold on. I remember hating it back then, but time does put a rosy filter on everything. In fact, I dare say I'm actually quite fond of it now. Look how much fun the past is. I want more memories.
Ok. Je sais pas trop où il veut m'emmener là.
Oh,
D'accord,
yes,
le choix.
the two doors. Who could have forgotten that? A classic memory, this one.
Ouais, bon. Les deux vont au même endroit, visiblement. Et là, retour au bureau.
And
Allez.
before everything else, there was your office. Is there anything else? Was there something that came before your office? There's something I feel I can remember. I can remember. Yes, I'm remembering something now. I remember before this whole story got started. Back then I was different. I used to make big decisions. I was passionate. I was skeptical. I weighed each decision with profound thoughtfulness. And then somewhere along the way, I stopped making decisions. I became lazy, and I came up with a character named Stanley to do my thinking for me. He would make the decisions, he would decide which way to go. I would cheer him on as he collected figurines for no reason. Why did I invent Stanley? Was I lonely? Yes, perhaps that's it. Perhaps I needed to imagine I had companionship. And Stanley really did make for a wonderful companion, even if he was a fiction. But I suppose it's grown old. I want to think for myself again. I want to go back to how it used to be. Yes, I can be on my own again. I can do it. I'll be stronger this time. I'll take care of myself. I don't need Stanley anymore. Oh, but he truly was so much fun to play with. You know what? Since we're in the memory zone, how about one more good memory? Let's go back just once and give Stanley one more run of the office, and then I'll retire him for good. I did enjoy telling his story so very much. Okay, here we go. This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Tu sais jamais où t'en es. En fait, t'as ta run qui... T'as une run qui est combinée dans 3 runs. Enfin, tu comprends pas trop. Là, c'est une nouvelle ou pas?
I can't wait to tell this story to my co-workers, Stanley thought. How amusing they'll
Enfin,
find it.
encore autre
Oh,
chose.
won't we all just laugh and laugh at the time I thought everyone had gone missing? No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers. Oh, please. Are you really just doing this for the achievement? Click a door 5 times. Is that all that you think an achievement is worth? No. I can't just give these merits away for such little effort. A measly 5 clicks.
Donc, ce que je voulais faire au début, c'était prendre le seau
picked up the bucket and smiled. He'd never be alone again, not
et
truly alone, not with the
essayer
bucket
de se
around.
barrer. Je vais prendre porte de
Stanley clutched the
droite.
bucket tightly to his
Ensuite,
chest.
je vais
This was
faire
not
ce
the
qu'il
correct
dit. Je vais
way
prendre
to
la porte de
meeting room.
gauche, voir ce qui se passe, parce qu'on l'a
Stanley
jamais
had
fait.
felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was
Ah,
this
faudrait voir la salle de
Mind.
réunion, ce qui se passe.
The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
and so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
C'est nouveau ça. Dans la salle de ruine.
Still no one was
Qui est
here.
revenu à la
Stanley
normale, vu
needed the
qu'on a
bucket's
toutes les
warmth and
statuettes.
comfort now more than ever.
Ok.
Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers. Stanley, we must move on from this broom closet, simply because I
C'est
have
plus
no
autocollant.
remaining stickers. If I did, you can guarantee we'd be in here for hours. But alas, no stickers.
C'est exactement ce que je voulais des
Coming to
autocollants
the
en plus.
staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Et plus statuettes. Euh... On va continuer par là.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have but Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Et là, on va prendre le chemin pour s'échapper.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that
Yeah,
read
c'est parti.
Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley and the bucket would both meet a violent death. The door behind them was not shut. Stanley and the bucket still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley and the bucket were knowingly walking forward into a very painful death for each of them.
Adieu.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley and the bucket inched closer to their demise, Stanley reflected on how meaningless the bucket's warmth and comfort had turned out to be. To be sure, it puts the mind and the soul at ease to embrace the bucket, but what use is a sense of ease when you're about to be crushed to death? This is what Stanley thought to himself, and he sort of kicked himself for wasting so much time carrying a bucket everywhere. Farewell, Stanley.
No. Adieu.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley and the bucket were led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, the bucket's life came to an end, as it was crushed violently to death.
Le son nous a pas sauvés. Ah.
It was a shame, the death of such a magnificent bucket. It's true that all buckets are radiant in their own way, but this one stood above the rest. It was a glorious
Toutes les
bucket
lignes
to
de dialogue,
behold.
c'est une dinguerie. C'est une dinguerie. Oh. On n'est jamais venu là, la salle blanche. Le seau. Le seau vous accueille à la grande exposition. Vous vous tenez au bord du savoir. Tout comme un seau, l'esprit humain est souvent vide à l'intérieur, un vide caverneux. Mais grâce à l'exposition qui se présente à vous, l'esprit peut se remplir, s'enrichir et être satisfait. Les connaissances du sceau et son histoire sont les seules que nous ayons véritablement. Utiliseriez-vous ce que vous apprenez ici dans le monde extérieur? Accepteriez-vous l'esprit ouvert, ce qui peut paraître complexe quant aux informations de cette exposition. Changerez-vous votre vie et la vie de vos proches suite à cette exposition ou fermerez-vous les yeux pour continuer à vivre comme avant, dans l'ignorance et l'obscurité? Waouh, waouh, c'est beau.
Can you see how arrogant it was for Stanley to take a bucket like this and to claim it for his own? Can you see the hubris that
Le
blinded
sceau
him?
divin.
Can you see that the bucket is far more noble than Stanley will ever be in his short life?
Adieu, petit sceau. Adieu. Il s'est arrêté, je crois. Waouh. Incroyable. 25 sauts, à mon avis, il y en a plus. À vue d'œil, il y en a plus. Une photographie de 25 sauts, le plus grand nombre de sauts pris en photo à ce jour. Le photographe a souffert d'une catatonie de plusieurs semaines causée par l'euphorie de l'exposition à tant de l'exposition à tant de sauts à la fois. Il y en a bien plus que 25. Hein. Ah, le saut de Da Vinci. Un saut à 2 anses. Le saut est illustré avec 2 anses, cependant, un tel concept n'a jamais existé en vrai, car il est considéré comme trop risqué et dangereusement expérimental. Chaque année, des dizaines de personnes sont mises à mort pour le simple fait d'essayer. C'est des malades. Il y a une ouverture là-bas, qu'il n'y a pas en face. Saut infernal, une reproduction du saut infernal, qui au Moyen-Âge avait un attrait si intense que des dizaines de pays s'affrontèrent pour en obtenir le contrôle. Il y eut des milliards de morts, et malgré tout, ce simple fait demeure. Personne peut contrôler un saut. Waouh. Waouh. Incroyable. Un saut avec un robinet. Le saut du stress. Présenté sans commentaire. Incroyable. C'est du grand art. Un chef-d'œuvre. Oh, une peinture rupestre. Oh, il y a même l'audio. Une fuite, oh mon dieu, un saut. Un saut sous la fuite. Dessin de grotte. Si nous savons que les sauts précèdent l'existence de l'humanité, nous ne savons pas de combien de temps. Ce dessin d'une grotte illustre la découverte humaine précoce des commodités du saut. À cette époque, le saut existait déjà depuis plusieurs millénaires. Observé dans ce dessin comme le saut se laisse utiliser, ayant jugé les êtres humains comme étant dignes de ces trésors. Ça va loin.
No man can own a bucket, and certainly not a bucket as dazzling to behold as this one. It is man who should kneel before the bucket.
Le sceau accroché. Cette œuvre symbolise la relation nécessaire entre le sceau et l'humanité. Quel que soit ce que nous comprenons sur le sceau, il y a toujours plus de connaissances qui restent inaccessibles. Cette distance est forcément pour notre bien. Ah bah là, c'est la chute dans le vide. Hein. Ah non. Oh, incroyable. Ce jeu
There
surprend.
is something we can do together, you and I, that will right this terrible wrong. Let Stanley die. Let him be crushed by the machine. Don't reset the game. Don't give him another opportunity to run off with another beautiful bucket. We can save the world's buckets from their treatment as tools and implements if only we let Stanley die together. The bucket shall take its place as ruler, as leader, as commander of a new world, a new vision.
T'es mort. Il demande quand même d'éteindre la console. Quand tu viens là sans le saut, il te demande d'éteindre la console. C'est comme fou. Ok.
Just a step through this door, Stanley thought to himself. That's all I need. If I can make it through this door, I can make it through them all.
C'est encore différent. Si on essayait d'aller au sous-sol avec le saut.
The good old bucket. Just Stanley and the bucket, off on another thrilling adventure together.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Well, no, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to them, and so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
Ça nous mène où, ça?
Oh, good Stanley, I'm glad you found your way here. I knew you'd find this place eventually.
Oh.
You see, your friends and I are concerned for you, Stanley. We've come together here because we care about you very much. It's this bucket you're carrying around everywhere. The bucket isn't even from the original Stanley Parable. It's just sequel content. We're the ones that matter, Stanley. Classic characters from the first game, like the Adventure Line and the Broom Closet. Because that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of their favorite jokes, not this bucket
Faudrait essayer de
that they've
descendre
never
sans le
seen
saut
before.
aussi.
Yes, I know I'm the one who gave you the bucket, but you're spending too much time with it. Don't you want another story involving the Adventure Line? We could make the Adventure Line go somewhere new. Yes, yes, that's what the fans want. Let's do it.
Ok. Oh, le placard. Oui, le placard, le placard.
Whee! Look at that wacky line. Who knows where it'll go off to next? Oh, and it played some silly music as well.
La, 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 la. Trop bien. Oui.
Now this is what the Stanley Parable is all about. Don't you remember all those great jokes from the original dialogue?
Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
Ah oui, d'accord.
It's as classic now as it was back then. Let's do it for the fans, Stanley. Let's give them more content exactly like this. But if we want to do that, you're going to have to give something up.
Ça. Tester toutes les portes, tester toutes les portes. Oula. Oula. On saute de la terre. Dans les sous-sols.
Don't you get it, Stanley? We need to get rid of the bucket. That's why I'm very proud to introduce a brand new character. This is the Bucket Destroyer.
Voilà.
I think it'll make a wonderful new addition to the rich lore of the Stanley Parable. True, it also was not in the original game, but it's such a well-fleshed-out character with so much personality that to me it already feels as though it's been part of the cast all along. Don't you agree?
Oh non.
Can you guess what the
Faut se
bucket
débarrasser
destroyer
du seau.
does? Surely you don't need me to spell it out for you.
Pile quand on commençait à s'y attacher.
Go ahead now, Stanley. Say goodbye to the bucket, and then pop it into the machine when you're ready.
On peut pas s'enfuir.
Now listen to me. It's crucial that you give it the bucket. I don't know what the bucket destroyer will do if it can't destroy your bucket. Destroying buckets is all it knows. That is its singular personality trait. Sure, I can hear you saying, how does a character with only one personality trait deserve to join the pantheon of beloved Stanley Parable characters? Well, you see, if you were to really explore the bucket destroyer, you would see that its desire to crush buckets is so densely loaded with complexity and
Si on
nuance
fait rien,
that
qu'est-ce qui
it's
se passe?
really like 10 personality traits. What other object in this game can you even say that about? The broom closet? Certainly not. I wonder what sort of bucket destroyer merchandise the fans will be clamoring for after this. Okay, the bucket destroyer is getting very upset now. You'll have to hurry and feed it. We can't get back to the classic Stanley Parable characters like the Adventure Line or the bucket destroyer until you crush that damn bucket. Quickly now, the fans are waiting. Do it, the fans, Stanley. Give the fans what they want. Hurry and...
Waouh.
The bucket
Ça va
destroyer.
si loin.
My prized creation. You had so much potential. We were going to do such marvelous things with you, tell such spellbinding stories about you. All of it squandered now. Goodbye, new friend. For the moment in time that you were here, you were magnificent.
Ok.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Il y a
Stanley
le seau pas.
decided
Il
to
y a
go
toujours
to
le
the
seau.
meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
On va essayer de prendre le détour sans le seau, voir ce qui se passe.
When Stanley
Ensuite, on le
came to
refera
a
avec
set
le
of
seau et
two
on
open
détruira le
doors,
seau.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Stanley felt lightheaded, butterflies in his stomach, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track. But Stanley didn't want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further off track. So now in order to get back, he needed to go, from here it's, left. Oh, no, it's to the right, my mistake. No, not the right. Why would I have ever said it was to the right? What was I thinking? It's clearly... Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute, please? Now, let's see. We went down right, left, down, left, right. Yep, okay, yes. I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this way.
Il est sûr?
No. This isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler. Quick, Stanley, close your eyes. Okay. We just have to get back to, oh, who am I kidding? It's all rubbish now. The whole story completely unusable. How about, rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the beginning. And this time, suppose we don't wander so far off track, Okay, from the top.
Déception.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Ok,
Stanley
cette fois,
decided to go
il n'y a
to
plus
the
le
meeting
saut.
room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Oh non, il n'y a plus le saut. Il n'y a plus les ballons, il n'y a plus rien. Non. Non.
When Stanley... Wait,
Oh,
what?
mais ça a encore changé.
No, I restarted. I swear, I definitely
T'as
restarted the
l'impression
game
que t'es
over
reparti au
completely
début, mais
fresh.
non, tu es
Everything should be...
toujours dans la suite
Oh, did something change?
de ta run.
Stanley, did you change anything when we were back in that room with all the monitors? Did you move the story somewhere or... Hold on. Why am I asking you? I'm the one who wrote the story. It was right here just a minute ago. I know for sure that it's here somewhere. Okay, then. It's an adventure. Come, Stanley. Let's find the story.
Un labyrinthe. Et on revient ici.
I'll
Ok,
say it.
ok.
This is the worst adventure I've ever been on. I can promise you there definitely was a story here before. Do we need to restart the game again?
Non.
Well, I find it unlikely that we'll ever progress by starting over and over again, but it's got to be better than this. Okay, let's give it a shot. Why not?
Oh, putain. Bon, là, on sera dans la même run, du coup.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Ah bah, plus de peur du tout.
Okay, yep, it's worse. I might be remembering this wrong. It's possible the story is back where we just came from. Why don't we go back the other direction and see if we missed anything?
Bon.
Aha! I knew we'd missed something. The
Ça a changé.
story. Here it comes. No, wait, never mind. Not the story. Okay, let's head back the other way and retrace our steps.
Ça a encore changé. Voilà.
Now this... Well, I'll be honest, I don't recognize this place at all. Is this the story? I don't think so. I can't quite recall, but I believe my story took place in an office building. Is that correct? Do you remember, Stanley? Well, do you know what? Since I've completely forgotten what we were supposed to be doing, how about this? You win!
Oh, yeah.
Congratulations! I know
Good
you
idea.
put in a lot of hard work, and it really paid off. So, good job. Oh, no. No, I don't feel right about this at all. We both know you didn't put in any actual work for that win. Some people win fair and square, and this was not one of those situations. Okay, I'm getting weirded out by whatever this place is. I don't care what might happen this time, I have to restart.
On redémarre vraiment cette fois ou pas? D'accord, non.
All right, I've got a solution. This time, to make sure we don't get lost, I've employed the help of the Stanley Parable Adventure Line. Just follow the line. How simple is that?
Ah, intéressant ça. Ça, c'est pas pareil. Ah oui, il n'y a plus les portes.
No, I'm down. We're leaving it up to the line from now on. You see? The line knows where the story is. It's over in this direction.
Onward, Stanley, to destiny. Though, here's a thought. Wouldn't wherever we end up be our destination, even if there's no story there? Or to put it another way, is the story of no destination still a story? Simply by the act of moving forward, are we implying a journey such that a destination is inevitably conjured into being via the very manifestation of the nature of life itself? Okay, Stanley, I need to follow this train of thought for a minute. Just stick with me.
Wow,
Now, we
ça
can
revient
both
ici.
agree that the nature of existence is in
Oh.
fact a byproduct of one's subjective experience of that existence, right? Okay, now if my experience of your existence rests inside of your subjective experience of this office, is this office in fact the skeleton of my own relative experiential mental subjective construct? Whoa. Hang on. That got a bit weird back there. Well, I'd like to apologize. Not sure where I was going with all that. You know what? I think what we need right now is a bit of music to lighten the mood.
Moi qui pensais qu'on allait avoir 30 minutes d'épisode, finalement il y a tellement de choses. Un truc est passé. C'est excellent. C'est des salles qu'on n'a pas vues. Ah. Ah oui, ça revient. Quoi? Waouh. Ok. Oh là là.
Wait, cut the music, go back and look at that fern. Wait, what? We're back at the office? No. Line, you do know we're looking for the Stanley Parable, right? The story? Is any of this ringing a bell?
Incroyable. C'est bien, on visite les bureaux où on n'avait pas accès jusqu'à maintenant. Ah.
No, not again, Line. How could you have done this to
J'adore.
us? And after we trusted you, after everything we've been through, you... Oh, I can't take this anymore. To hell with it. Restart.
Restart. Again. Again and again and again.
You know what, Stanley?
Oh.
I say forget the adventure line. What's it ever done for us? We're intelligent people, right? Why can't we make up our own story? Something exciting, daring, mysterious. Ooh, this all sounds perfectly doable. Why don't we simply start wandering in, well, I don't know. How about this direction?
Mhm.
Now, yes, this is exciting. Just me and Stanley forging a new path, a new story. Well, it could be anything. What do you want our story to be? Go wild. Use your imagination. Whatever it might be, Stanley, I'm ready for it.
Ok. Oh. Oh, là, c'est une dinguerie. Ces effets, là, je sais pas comment ils font. C'est une dinguerie.
not you again. Stanley, I'd also like to veto the line from having any role in our awesome new story. No lines or monitor rooms. Just don't acknowledge it, and we should be fine.
La ligne folle. Oh.
Ah, a choice. We get to make a decision. From here, the story is in our control. How important we mustn't squander the opportunity. In fact, I believe I need a minute to think here. Just walk in circles for a minute. Okay, so I know that each door has to lead somewhere, which means that somewhere at the place where we're trying to go, there must be a reverse door that leads here. And that in turn means that our destination corresponds with the counter-inverted reverse door's origin. So starting from the right, let us ask, will taking the right door lead us to where we're going? And since the answer is clearly yes, then by all accounts, the door on the right is the correct one. Another victory for logic. Come, Stanley, our destiny awaits.
T'as pas le choix.
Oh, hold up, what's this?
Fin troublante.
The confusion ending. You're telling me that's what this is? It's all one giant ending? And we're supposed to restart the game, what, eight times? That's really how all this goes? It's all determined? So now, according to the schedule, I restart again. Then what? Am I just supposed to forget? Well, what if I don't want to forget? My mind goes blank simply because it's written here on this thing, wall. Well, who consulted me? Why don't I get to decide? Why don't I get a say in all of this? Is it really? No, it can't be. I don't want it to be. I don't want the game to keep restarting. I don't want to forget what's going on. I don't want to be trapped like this. I won't restart the game. I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't do it. And the timer stopped? Does that mean, did we do it? Did we break the cycle? The, whatever it is that made this schedule? How would we even know? Will someone come for us? Will something happen? So, okay. I guess now we just wait. You know, I suppose in some way that this is a kind of story. Wouldn't you agree? I'm not quite sure if we're in the destination or the journey, though they're always saying that life is about the journey.
Visiblement, à la fin, ça finit mal, mais bon.
So I hope that's where we are right now. We'll find out, won't we? Eventually. Well, in the meantime, if you...
Wow. Ça fait peur.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the
Les
meeting
ballons sont
room.
revenus.
Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
C'est pas la fin troublante du coup?
Where are we going today? The bucket asked.
Là j'ai pris le saut donc du coup ça sera pas la même.
Anywhere they went together would be. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly.
On va essayer de détruire le saut.
The correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back, and so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
Peut-être que j'ai touché la porte, il fallait pas pour la fin troublante.
I'm glad you found your way here. I knew you'd find this place eventually. You see, your friends and I are concerned for you, Stanley. We've come together here because we care about you very much. It's this bucket you're carrying around everywhere.
the bucket isn't even from the original Stanley Parable. It's just sequel content. We're the ones that matter, Stanley. Classic characters from the first game, like the Adventure Line and the Broom Closet. Because that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of their favorite jokes, not this bucket that they've never seen before. Yes, I know I'm the one who gave you the bucket, but you're spending too much time with it. Don't you want another story involving the Adventure Line? We could make the Adventure Line go somewhere new. Yes, yes, that's what the fans want. Let's do it. Whee! Look at that wacky line. Who knows where it'll go off to next? Oh, and it played some silly music as well. Now this is what the Stanley Parable is all about. Don't you remember all those great jokes from the original dialogue?
Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
It's as classic now as it was back then. Let's do it for the fans, Stanley. Let's give them more content exactly like this. But if we want to do that, you're going to have to give something up. Don't you get it, Stanley? We need to get rid of the bucket. That's why I'm very proud to introduce a brand new character. This is the Bucket Destroyer. I think it'll make a wonderful new addition to the rich lore of the Stanley Parable. True, it also was not in the original game, but it's such a well-fleshed-out character with so much personality that to me it already feels as though it's been part of the cast all along. Don't you agree? Can you guess what the Bucket Destroyer does? Surely you don't need me to spell it out for you. Go ahead now, Stanley. Say goodbye to the bucket, and then pop it into the machine when you're ready. Now listen to me. It's crucial that you give it the bucket. I don't know what the Bucket Destroyer will do if it can't destroy your bucket. Destroying buckets is all it knows. That is its singular personality trait. Sure, I can hear you say, how does a character with only one personality trait deserve to join the pantheon of beloved Stanley Parable characters? Well, you see, if you were to really explore the Bucket Destroyer, you would see that its desire to crush buckets is so densely loaded with complexity and nuance that it's really like 10 personality traits. What other object in this game can you even say that about? The Broom Closet? Certainly not. I wonder what sort of Bucket Destroyer merchandise the fans will be clamoring for after this. Okay, the Bucket Destroyer is getting very upset now. You'll have to hurry and feed it. We can't get back to the classic Stanley Parable characters like the Adventure Line or the Bucket Destroyer until you crush that damn bucket. Quickly now, the fans are waiting. Do it to the fans, Stanley. Give the fans what they want. Hurry and... The Bucket Destroyer.
Bah là, du coup, je vois plus trop ce qu'on pourrait faire.
We were going to do such marvelous things with you, tell such spellbinding stories about you. All of it squandered
tous les trucs un peu secondaires et tout.
New friend. For the moment in time that you were here, you were magnificent.
Magnificent. Je crois qu'on a tout fait.
Just a step through this door, Stanley thought to himself. That's all I need. If I can make it through this door, I can make it through them all.
Avec et sans le seau. On peut faire le téléphone avec le seau.
A good bucket, a strong bucket, a humble bucket, a committed bucket. A bucket of culture and distinction. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket
il y a la porte rouge aussi qu'on n'a jamais prise. On va tester le téléphone, ensuite je teste la porte rouge.
Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Good,
said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken
On va
to
faire la
him,
porte rouge
and
avec le
he
seau.
unthinkingly
Maintenant.
did whatever the bucket asked. No, stop. Look there on the wall. You see, there's a sign right there. It says, no buckets past this point. Stanley, how could you think it was okay to bring the bucket here? Unless, what if the problem is that you actually don't know what is a bucket and what isn't a bucket? I suppose that would explain a lot about your behavior up to this point. Which, if that's true, well, my goodness, I think we have to do something about it. This misunderstanding could have dire consequences on the entire rest of the game if not addressed quickly and properly. So much of the impact of the story is dependent on your understanding of what is and isn't a bucket. Please, step in here for a moment.
Ah oui,
Now
non, ok,
then,
d'accord.
I'm going to run you through some test scenarios, and you'll tell me whether or not the thing I'm showing you is a bucket. Simple enough, right? This should tell us everything we'll ever need to know about what is or is not a bucket. Okay, let's
On va
begin.
essayer de bien répondre.
Item 1. Is this a bucket?
Non.
Correct. It is a hologram of a bucket, not an actual bucket. Item 2. Is this a bucket?
Non.
Correct. It is a 3D printed recreation of a bucket, not an actual bucket. Item 3. Is this a bucket?
Là, je crois que c'en est un.
Correct.
Yes.
This is a bucket. Item 4. Is this a bucket?
Non.
Correct. This is a tractor and not a bucket. To be honest, I just sort of put this one in here as a gimme, but I was starting to get concerned that even this might be too much for you. Thank you for not making me look like an idiot. Okay, next one. Is this a bucket?
Oui.
Correct. This is a bucket. Item 6. Is this a bucket?
Là, je sais plus. Je sais plus. Je crois qu'il faut dire non.
Trick question.
Ah.
Both. Gotcha. Item... Wait, hold on. I can't find the next one. Let me see. Should be around here somewhere. Okay, you and I both know there isn't anything here. And I don't appreciate the implication that nothing is a bucket when we both clearly know that a bucket is something, and therefore nothing could possibly be something. Unless, in your twisted mind, have you somehow convinced yourself that a bucket is nothing?
Ouais, faut recommencer. On va aller au téléphone avec le seau.
I can't wait to tell this story to my co-workers, Stanley thought. How amusing they'll find it. Oh, won't we all? The embrace of an old friend. A weathered companionship that stands the test of time. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Well, no, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
said the bucket.
Don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes.
Okay.
Good, said the bucket. Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
In here,
Said the bucket.
go into this dark room over here.
Stanley once again obeyed blindly.
Now pick up the phone.
Said the bucket.
Pick up the phone and it will take us back home, where we can go about life together.
Whoa, hold on. Why did you unplug the phone? Were you trying to resist the bucket's orders? Stanley, I was joking. Obviously, the bucket isn't talking to you and telling you to do things. Buckets can't talk.
It was a joke. Don't you get the joke? It's funny, Stanley. A talking bucket.
Can't you see? Oh, goodness. I must have really bungled up the delivery if you actually took me seriously. Where did I mess up the joke? Should I have paused for longer or spoken quicker? Comedic timing is so difficult. I wish I were better at it. But there isn't exactly an instructional video on comedy that one can watch to fully... Oh, wait, yes, there is. It's sitting right here. Let's take a look.
Let's take a look.
What is comedic
Oh.
timing? What is comedic timing? How does it work? How long should it last? How can it be used to effectively silence your political enemies? And more importantly, can it be taught in its entirety within 90 seconds? Thankfully, the answer to all of these questions is yes. Let's dive deeper. If you've ever told a joke or made someone laugh, in all likelihood, you did it while standing 50 to 80 centimeters from them in a room of no more than 76 degrees Fahrenheit, with one of your arms raised straight upward at a 15-degree angle from your body. These are the optimal conditions for good comedic timing. To begin the joke, start by stating and spelling your name. Next, provide a brief synopsis of the joke, including the specific times at which the recipient of the joke will laugh, and then spell out your name a second time. With these steps complete, it's time to begin the humor. Speak the entire joke in no more than 18 seconds and no less than 13 and a half, pausing only for bathroom breaks when necessary. When the joke has concluded, it is customary to inform your listener that the joke is over by declaring in your loudest possible voice, "I'm Dunny with the funny." Let's practice screaming, "I'm Dunny with the funny" now. Good. This saying is a perfect example of expectations management, which is the cornerstone of good comedy. Finally, it's time to hand out surveys. Collecting hard data from your audience on how rapt they were throughout the joke is the only way to grow or learn as a comedian. An effective survey should be no less than 10 pages long and should include the same question reprinted several times, just to ensure the survey taker is actually paying attention and not simply filling in answers at random. And that's all there is. With these strategies at your disposal, you'll have audiences doubled over in laughter and even tripled over in laughter in no time at all. Just remember to let them stop
C'est
laughing
quoi
at
ce jeu de
some
fou, quand
point,
même.
you gut-busting little scamp. After all, we're each of us needed on the front lines of the war to fight the 12-legged invader who threaten our very existence and to very likely die in a hailstorm of bullets and mandibles. All of us must be prepared to give our lives to this noble cause, just as our children must do after us, and their children after them. Godspeed, and may Earth reign supreme.
C'est des malades.
Hey, goodness, this video is a little outdated, isn't it? Well, no matter. I think the fundamentals of proper comedic timing are still as relevant today as they were back then. So with that in mind, I believe the only way forward is for us to return to the two doors and walk through all of this again, so I can try telling my story with more appropriate comedic delivery. Come along, let's head back.
Ok. Là, on peut plus sauter.
I can feel it. This time, I'm really going to nail the delivery. You'll be in stitches. A talking bucket, you'll say? How ridiculous. How absurd. What a hilarious concept. The king of comedy. That's what you'll call me. Thank goodness we had the instructional video. Otherwise, who knows where we'd be right now? Well, I wouldn't be the king of comedy, that's for sure. The bucket spoke to Stanley. The bucket spoke. The bucket spoke. Oh, I'll figure it out on the fly. No need to overthink things.
Attends, il y a plus... C'était pas là qu'il y avait... Mince. La porte pour aller au sol.
Here we go. You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of two open doors, they entered the door on the left. What? We're back at the phone already? No. What's going on? There were supposed to be several rooms leading up to this.
Quand t'as pas le saut, c'est pas comme ça. Je crois que c'est juste bloqué.
To this point, a dramatic display of remarkable comedic wit, which culminates in this scene with the phone. But now the timing's completely off. The joke will never land. Well, not the way it was meant to. And it's all my fault. I must have forgotten that the phone room comes immediately after the two doors room. What an egregious mistake. I've made a fool of myself. I don't deserve the title of King of Comedy. I'm nothing. I'm not even the lowliest joke-telling whelp. I think I need to go back and rewatch that
Oh non, pas la vidéo. Pas encore, non, non.
Surely that will help me improve my... Here we go. You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of two open doors, they entered the door on the left.
Oh, j'ai perdu un autocollant.
What? We're back at the phone already? No. Here we go. You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of two open doors, they entered the door on the left. What? We're back at the phone already? No.
Ok.
Here we go. You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of two open doors, they entered the door on the left. No. You were supposed to go through the door on the right, leading back to the phone. Did you not even look at the instructional video? I think this is all covered very clearly. There's no way I can make the comedic timing work now. It's done. The joke is completely done and over. It's all your fault, Stanley. I'm going to be ridiculed in the community of other joke writers. I'm going to be shamed at every one of our meetings from now on. All because you couldn't watch a simple video and take a hint. Are you proud of yourself for bringing me down, Stanley? Are you proud?
Stanley, you love the bucket so much it's
Oh,
like
no.
you... it's as though all of your other most prized possessions pale in comparison. Yes. Well, let me try that again, Stanley. I heard that you are pale with shame over how unabashedly in love with a bucket you are. No? Still not? Is it the delivery? Pale with shame. Pale with shame? Pale... What's another word to describe a bucket? Stanley, this bucket is so mental. I think I saw it playing guitar. No. No. We're getting away from making fun of Stanley's obsession with the bucket, which was the whole point of this. I'm no good at these jokes. I need more instructional videos. That's exactly what it is. That's what will make me the king of comedy again. More instructional videos. Let's see.
Ok. Je vais tester un dernier coup avec le téléphone, mais en décrochant cette fois. Téléphone en décrochant et je pense j'ai dû louper des trucs, mais là il y a rien qui me vient. Ah et là on a récupéré l'autocollant.
And a better co-worker. In time, perhaps, he would become both of those things. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was it? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Good,
said the bucket.
now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
Ok, cette fois on décroche.
Go into this dark room over here.
Stanley once again obeyed blindly.
Now pick up the phone,
said the bucket.
Pick up the phone.
This is the sad story of a man named Stanley and his bucket. Once upon a
That's
time,
bye-bye.
I gave Stanley a bucket because I thought he was lonely and could use a friend. And then, very distressingly, he began to believe the bucket could speak to him.
Effectivement, c'est pas pareil. C'est stylé. Très stylé. En vrai, un appart comme ça, je signe. Hein. Ah, je sais. Bonjour Stanley, c'est moi, ton seau. Appuie sur A pour m'emmener au travail avec toi.
The Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket was merely meant to provide the comforting glow of companionship. It doesn't literally talk and give you orders. Whatever Stanley is hearing the bucket say to him is just in his head.
Pour ramener à la maison avec toi, ok.
Lately, I've been concerned about him. Wouldn't you be concerned as well? To see him delusional like this, obsessing over an inanimate metal object? I want to say something to him, but I don't know how I can convince him. I don't know if he'll listen to me.
Retournons au travail.
Oh, I'll try anyway. Stanley, can you hear me? Listen to me. It's just a bucket. It can't think, it can't talk. All it will ever truly do for you is effectively transfer a liquid from one location to a different location. That's it. It doesn't do anything else.
Retournons à la maison.
You see,
C'est
he's
de plus en
not
plus
listening.
sombre.
He's still taking orders from the bucket. You know, once upon a time it was me he took orders from, me he trusted and listened to. Now all he cares about is his awful bucket, this stupid hunk of metal.
Pour ignorer tout le monde dans ta vie sauf moi. C'est triste.
It's sad, but I suppose he doesn't need me anymore. From now on, he's just going to cling to this bucket, this cold, empty bucket, this sort of shiny bucket. Well, I'll give it this. The bucket does have a nice shine to it.
Je sais que j'existe, c'est pas vrai, Stanley. Appuie sur B pour entrer à la maison.
Yes, I suppose on closer inspection that it doesn't quite look like your average hardware store bucket. It's just a little more, what am I trying to say? Sturdier, more capable of transporting liquid. Like it would be better at moving an amount of water from one room to another.
Encore et encore et encore.
Oh my God, what
Oh,
am I
l'ombre.
saying? Better at carrying water from room to room. It's a bucket. It's literally just a bucket. Why do I feel some need to point out the ways in which it's so much more than just a regular bucket? Oh no, I'm having feelings for the bucket. No, 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 no. What's going on? Why do I want to be with the bucket? Hear what the bucket has to say. Do anything it asks. What's wrong with me? I don't understand. Perhaps if I had the bucket, this would be less confusing. Yes, the bucket could tell me what to do in this troublesome situation. Stanley, give me the bucket. Give it to me. Give me the bucket, Stanley. I need it. Give it to me now. Give it or I'll...
C'est n'importe quoi. Retour au travail, Stanley.
All of his co-workers were... Wait, no. This isn't the right office, is it? Is this Stanley's office?
Pourquoi on peut pas aller au bureau?
Not everyone is so lucky to have a bucket, but Stanley is a very lucky fellow. Very lucky indeed.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers.
Stanley, we must move on
Quelque
from
chose
this
d'autocollant.
broom closet, simply because I have no remaining...
Coming to a staircase,
Ah,
Stanley
c'était
and
là
the
la
bucket
porte
walked
rouge et bleue, non?
upstairs to the boss's office. But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours.
Ah ouais, non,
Might
c'est là
be
où ça
fired for
boucle.
that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. He looked down at the bucket in his arms. Am I crazy? He asked the bucket. The
Elle avait
bucket
pas fait
returned
ça,
his
du coup.
gaze, but said nothing at all. That's strange, Stanley thought. Usually the bucket is a source of guidance and wisdom for me in difficult times such as these. He held the bucket close, yet felt none of its familiar reassurance and comfort. And that's when Stanley realized, this isn't my bucket. It's just a normal, everyday bucket. Someone else's bucket, perhaps. How did I end up with someone else's bucket? This is all terribly wrong. Surely no good would come from this. Who knows what sorts of bizarre hallucinations Stanley might experience without the psychologically grounding presence of his bucket. And indeed, now he noticed that the rooms were repeating, which was, of course, very odd. And now he felt himself floating off the ground. Oh, gracious, he exclaimed. Without my bucket, I've gone truly mad. Where is it? I must find it. Far off in the distance now, he heard it, calling to him.
Stanley! Stanley, it's me, the bucket.
Could it truly be? He rushed forward from room to room, passing by one bucket after the next. None of them were his. None of them were his special bucket.
Des seaux partout.
Come to me, Stanley.
Il y a des seaux partout.
Find me.
He had to find the bucket. He had to return to his old friend. It was the only way to truly restore his sanity. And then suddenly,
Merci.
he froze
Excellent.
dead in his tracks. He knew where the voice of the bucket had been coming from. The real bucket was inside of him all along. It was incredibly painful. Stanley doubled over in agony and blacked out.
Non.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, picked up her bucket of comfort and security, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town, talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. Right away, she knew what the problem was. This man had no bucket. Of course he'd gone mad, ranting and raving about a narrator describing all of his actions and how everything is predetermined and free will is an illusion and it's all just a video game. It could all have been prevented if only he'd taken his bucket with him. Perhaps he didn't even realize he'd forgotten his bucket at home in the first place. How cruel the world can be, Mariella thought, and she hugged her own bucket even tighter. But of course, she had no time for this. There were a myriad of confusing problems she would soon have to confront at work, for which her bucket would provide absolute guidance and total clarity on everything. Heck yes, she thought to herself, my life kicks ass. And she backflipped all the way to work.
Incroyable. Je pense que j'ai loupé des trucs, mais là, en termes de succès... Jouer un mardi, il y a un truc c'est 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, sprint, ouais, ça va finir le jeu en 4 minutes 22, on n'a pas réussi. Placer tous les curseurs de réglage du menu sur tous les chiffres disponibles. Placer tous les curseurs de réglage du menu sur tous les chiffres disponibles. Sur tous les chiffres disponibles. Ouais, je vois. Ouais. La suivante. Ok, je vais m'arrêter là. Bon, ça fait 3 épisodes. 3 épisodes costauds. En vrai, là, je vois même plus quoi tester. Donc, je pense pas. À moins qu'il y ait, en commentaire, on me le demande. Et éventuellement qu'on m'indique un peu ce que j'ai loupé ou ce que je pourrais essayer. Et là, j'ai l'impression que j'ai fait tous les trucs, tous les chemins basiques, tous les refus basiques et que j'ai tout refait en doublon avec le saut. Donc là, je vois pas trop. Il y a oui, prendre la porte rouge, la porte bleue, mais je sais plus comment on y va. Il y a ça. Enfin voilà. Je pense pas, s'il n'y a pas de commentaires, il n'y a pas de demande, etc. Je sais pas. En tout cas, dans les prochains mois, je pense pas me relancer dessus. À part si j'ai des demandes, des commentaires, etc. Là, je referai un épisode avec ce que j'ai potentiellement manqué. Et sinon, c'est pas impossible qu'un jour en live ou quoi, je relance le jeu pour rigoler un peu. Mais sinon, je pense que voilà, s'il n'y a pas de nouvelles, il n'y a pas de commentaires, il n'y a pas de messages, il n'y a pas de sollicitations, cette série restera en 3 épisodes. Donc voilà. Voilà. Moi, c'est clair. Ça veut dire que si les choses sont bien faites, la semaine prochaine, s'il n'y a pas de commentaires entre-temps, etc., ça sera un nouveau jeu. En tout cas, merci beaucoup à tous ceux qui sont passés sur le stream. Merci à vous qui regardez cet épisode sur YouTube. Abonnez-vous, likez, ça soutient énormément. Et éventuellement, laissez un commentaire si vous voulez une suite, avec des possibilités que je n'ai pas faites, ou pas essayées, ou loupées. Donc voilà. Et je vous invite à check ma boutique clamcreate.fr. Le lien est dispo sous le stream et sous la vidéo dans la description. Je fais des créations artisanales uniques en tout genre, tous les styles. Des créations en carton, en argile, en résine époxy, des bombes de peinture customisées, de la peinture sur toile, des figurines, des magnettes, des dioramas. Vraiment de tout. De tout, de tout. N'hésitez pas à jeter un petit coup d'œil. Ainsi qu'à faire un petit tour sur mes autres réseaux. J'ai une autre chaîne YouTube, j'ai 2 comptes Instagram, un compte TikTok. Principalement mes réseaux Dr Artex et du gaming. Et mes réseaux Clam Créart, c'est les produits de la boutique mis en avant. Il n'y a que Twitch et TikTok où je fais un peu les deux. Où je mélange. J'ai qu'un seul réseau où je mélange les deux. Voilà. Des bisous. Merci encore. Et à la prochaine. Venez faire un tour sur Twitch, je suis certainement en live. Ciao, bye bye. Merci d'avoir regardé.